You've got uninvited house guests. You got Patty's Pest Control. Yes, that's right. One of our well-trained exterminators will arrive at your house on request to make sure your house is 100% pest-free. Call now, 312-465-8633. Patty's Pest Control. New location, new equipment, new customers. What could go wrong? I had recently begun college, and I needed a job to pay for my tuition, so I did what 59% of all Americans do, and got a job. I drove a van around to people's homes and businesses, kicking them out for a week or two and killing bugs. Now, Patty's Pest Control was a really shitty job. The hours were extremely long, and the job training required was very minimum. So as you can expect, I wasn't paid much. Every morning, I'd step outside my door to see the van, which on the side read, Patty's Pest Control, in a bright yellow and green. My co-worker, Mark, would greet me every morning with a burning cup of coffee, which I usually never drank, and the stench of chemicals and cheap cologne. Hey John, ready? Yeah, let me just buckle in. Ignoring what I said, he sped off. Did you pick up the hose nozzles? I asked. Yeah, wait. He said he's putting down his coffee and picked up a Ziploc bag full of the hose nozzles, right here. So, did you hear what happened to that family last week? He said vaguely. Family? What are you talking about? Who? The family's house we fumigated last week. They have the 2 daughters and a kid. Oh, no, I didn't hear what happened. What happened? Apparently, their families are suing Patty's. Something about, like, the chemicals spread in the house hadn't fully escaped or something. I don't really know much about it, but I do remember us going to inspect that place. I don't know who worked on the house, but whoever they were, I'm sure they're not going to be in this line of work much longer. I nodded and thought about why the chemicals were left in the air of their house. I heard the parents and 2 of the girls died, and their son ran in the house choking and gasping for air. This was what their neighbor told me. I saw him down at the office last week. He was canceling a fumigation he was going to get. He told me all about it, Mark said. Yeah, I guess, I said as I held the bag of hose nozzles in my hand and looked at my feet. At my feet, though, was a newspaper. I picked it up and flipped through it to see a page reading, Local family killed by Patty's Pest Control. Employees forget the free house of deadly chemicals. Dodge Hall, firstborn son, escapes with his life, leaving his life and family behind. Whereabouts of Dodge Hall are still unknown. If you have any information on child, please contact your local authorities. Call 911 if you see this child. There's a picture of Dodge Hall underneath. He looked to be 13 or 14. It was a school photo. I dropped the paper on the floor as I looked out the window to see we had arrived at the work site. I got out of the van, put on my red jumpsuit and my mask. Mark held 2 spraying hoses and 2 tanks as he walked around in the vehicle. He handed me a hose and spray tank. As I adjusted the hose and put the new nozzle on the end of it, we entered the house. Mark made his way up to the attic, and I followed. Hey John, would you hand me the flashlight? He extended his arm out, waiting for me to hand him his flashlight. I reached down to my tool belt, about to grab the flashlight, when I heard my phone ring. I moved my hand to the left of my belt and grabbed my phone attached to my belt. Mark looked at me with a sense of frustration. He seemed like a child, waiting for his mother to get off the phone, or a father in a never-ending conversation. Hello? Hey, John. It's Patrick. Listen, ever since this whole family dying lawsuit, we've been taking extra precautions. Listen, those gas masks, they might not be up to standards, so you're going to need to get those replaced. We have a whole box full of them back at the old facility. We're using it for, storage. So how about this? Head on down there, the door should be unlocked. Just, go in there and grab the filters. They should be in the supplies cabinet. We're still moving things to the new place, and so far, we've just moved furniture. So give me a call if you can't find the mask filters. Okay? I gotta go, see you later. He hung up before I could say anything. We gotta go, Mark. Why? What was that about? Something about the masks. Their air purification filters. Shit. Let's get out of here then, he said, as he let out a chuckle. We made our way over to the old location. I didn't much look forward to this because, well, first off, I'm not the biggest fan of abandoned places. Second, this place. I know for a fact is not very safe. First, it's a weary structure that I wouldn't trust my life in, nor would I touch with a 15-foot stick. The second being that the chemicals in the air are bad enough to make you puke, which sucks because you need the air purification filters in order to breathe properly. Regardless, my job and well-being depended on it. So, we pulled up in the driveway of the old facility. Recognizing familiar gases and stench, we decided to hold our breath until we couldn't anymore. Upon entering the vicinity, we walked up to the door and tried turning it, but to no avail, it was locked. My guess is to keep bums out of the joint at night. Well, we tried the back door. Luckily, it was unlocked. I still didn't have the alacrity I was supposed to have while entering. Where did he say these mask photos were? Mark asked as he coughed into the red collar on his jumpsuit. In the supplies cabinet. I pointed to wild clear in my throat. Kinda weird they just leave it here, ain't it? It's probably because they're a bunch of fucking idiots. Whatever. I guess it's this, or our asses. We had made our way into the facility, looking out for the supplies cabinet. I'd been in here before, but this place was different. There was a dark green haze in the right light. The place smelled awful, like rotten eggs. We didn't even bother bringing our masks, because they didn't work out anyway. That's why we were there in the first place. We split up to look for it. We had to kind of downgrade the location. We moved to save cost. This place was like some huge maze. There were 3 floors. The main floor, the second floor, and the basement. Neither of us wanted to go down to the basement, but we needed to. We did rock, paper, scissors, shoot for it, and luckily, I won. Mark went down to the basement, and I searched the main floor. Looking back on it, we probably shouldn't have split up. Mark moped to the basement. He looked like a soldier going off into battle. He knew he wasn't going to win. Unfortunately, I hadn't found the supplies cabinet, and to my knowledge, neither had Mark. The basement was pretty dark. It wasn't pitch black, but it was really hazy down there. So not only was it hard to see, but hard to breathe. I felt kind of bad though, sending Mark down to the basement alone. I wasn't going to go down there though. I needed an excuse not to. So I searched the second floor. After making my way up the steep steps, and through the heavy metal door, I realized the air was lighter, not so hazy. The windows were all broken, and the light leaked in through the shattered glass. As I stepped closer into the room, my stomach started to tighten. My fists started to clench. My teeth grinned. I turned around in a flash to see nothing. Just a pitch black stairwell. I worried about Mark, and even thought about going down to check on him. I decided not to though, which, looking back on it, I wish that I had. I turned around, reluctantly, as I broke my gaze with the stairwell, when, pow! I felt my face meet the cold touch of a metal pipe. I felt my face pound against the floor. My nose felt broken. Blood rushed from my nose. Everything was spinning and hazy. As I looked up at the situation, and my vision focused in, I saw a person standing over me. He was short. He held a metal pipe in one hand. The light leaked in over his face. His eyes were dark brown in the light. His hair was messy and black. A scar over his right eye. I squinted my eyes and he jumped on me, throwing his fists. He was crying and yelling. He was yelling the same thing over and over again. Just, "You took them from me. It's all your fault. Fuck you. I'll fucking kill you." I heard footsteps rushing up the stairs. As I looked for my voice, waiting to yell out for help, Mark shows up in the doorway. He shows the boy standing on me, and he backed up. The boy reached for the pipe on the ground and smacked Mark. I heard a crack. Mark's head was twisted backwards almost. He fell to the floor, gasping. The boy walked over to the window and broke off a piece of glass from the window. He jumped on Mark and stuck it in him. He started carving and jamming and slicing it into his stomach. I played dead, hoping I wasn't next. Everything turned static. I couldn't see, or hear, or even breathe. My limbs were restrained. My eyes were glued shut. I had fallen unconscious. In a flash, I felt myself outside. I was at the bottom of a hill. There was a tree at the top of it. The skies were black. The wind was strong. I didn't understand what was happening, but I climbed to the top. I climbed and I ran, and I used all my strength just to move as fast as possible. As I neared the tree, I saw something hung from it. What hung from it made me vomit on the spot. I looked up and saw Mark, dangling and hanging from the tree. Blood leaked from his body. His eyes were missing, and his mouth hung wide open, as if his jaw had been broken. Something was carved in his stomach, though. I looked closely for a second and saw a circle, which had been crossed out with an X. I turned around to run, only to see the boy I'd been assaulted by sitting in the open, with his head down. Next to him, I thought was a tree of some sort at first. When I thoroughly visualized it, I saw a tall figure standing, slightly hunched over, with arms that hung down to his knees. His skin was white. His face was blank. When I say blank, though, I don't mean as in his expression, but meaning he was lacking all facial features. No mouth. No ears. No nose. No fucking eyes. He wore a suit, though, which seemed a bit odd, considering the fact it was almost 8 feet tall. I wasn't running at this point. Hell, I wasn't even thinking at this point. I just stood there, staring at him. Then, my head felt like it was about to explode, when all of a sudden, I was met with an extreme pain in my head. Just about where the boy had hit me. I got to my knees, holding my head in pain. I looked up to see the figure standing directly over me. Last I remember, he was at least 15 feet away. My vision grew corrupted with static, along with my hearing. In a flash, I'd overcome all my senses, and I found myself awakening in the same room I'd fallen unconscious in. At first, I thought it was just an aberration. That is until I stepped outside to see the truck gone, and Mark nowhere in sight. I walked around a bit, and found myself behind the facility. There was the same tree I'd seen in my supposed hallucination, with a symbol I had seen earlier carved into it. What made me run and forget any of this had ever happened, though, were the traces of blood around the tree.